can't just be all at work, can't just be all in the goal of your career demands. It has to be that balance. And it's why actually a lot of companies do and have forced people to like, more or less say, well, it's your marriage or this career. And there's a lot of people, they don't do it now, but they used to do it a lot I've seen it in jobs. I actually saw where I worked at a company, and I'm not naming the company, but this person actually went away, had a baby, came back. And when I was working with them, nobody said, congratulations on having your baby, or how do you feel? Nobody actually spoke to this, my work colleague. And it was quite shocking because it was like, that's something what was really a great part of their life. They're married, all these things. And it was more or less, she was seen as that was a problem, that she actually went out and had a baby and then she didn't push her career so much, but she then balanced it out. And then she worked out that she could look after her child 2, 3 days a week. And then she worked at work and she could work from home. And this was before like the COVID times. This is like 10, 15 years ago in a career I had. So it is interesting how the work-life balance can cause a lot of problems. So what's the solution? Well, this is where I think actually this did happen with COVID, is people started working from home. They started balancing out things more and they realized what the most important things, because the most important thing is your marriage, is your children, is your family, not your career. You can always change careers. You can always change it, lessen it, do something else, find another opportunity. Whereas marriages, if it's a very successful marriage, you don't want to ruin it. So I think a lot of that is cognitive behavior therapy, changing the ways, the mindset, and how that works. Hypnotherapy, you look at the timeline of why they want to do so well at work and not work on the marriage. And that could be also to do with, again, self-worth, self-effort, whatever that is. Next one, different values or life goals kind of goes in the same thing. So the disagreements about children, religion, politics, or future plans. Now, children can be a big issue with marriages. Some people, they get married, say, we want children. And they get in the marriage and one person says, don't want children anymore. And it's really problematic. Religion is also another one. Is how does that work? Oh, well, religion. Oh, well, you're this religion and you're this, and but we agreed that your religion wouldn't overtake, and something's changed for that person, and they've decided they've more in their religion, or their family's more interested, or loads of things. Politics can also be very much dividing, and I think also in our world of our media, our religions, our views towards religion, our views towards politics is very divisional. So, the attitudes and the stereotypes we have are very damaging. And then future plans is also about the idea of where do we go? Where is this going to go? So the solutions, well, children, this would be, I think, is a make or break for some marriages, because I think if the person doesn't want to be married or sorry, have children, and the other person does, then I think then that marriage sometimes then is wrong and they shouldn't punish that person. And if they don't want to have children and they really don't want to make it work and they're giving them enough chances, then maybe they have to go into a marriage or divorce and go into a marriage which will allow them to have children. And that's something what does happen. I've worked with people who did want children and the other partner didn't, and then they ended up splitting up, and then they ended up in the relationships they wanted. And it does happen. It's not ideal, but it does happen. Religion, very tough one, because that's a lot of it is the behavior, the conditioning on how your viewpoints are. And again, that really should be discussed more before you go into marriage, if the case happens. For myself, if I wanted to marry someone and I found out they were Muslim and I had to convert, well, and if you love that person, then you would do that. To me, I think that's, there's always got to be compromise somewhere. So again, I would say you've got to work out, I'm sorry using that just as an example, but there's others as well. I mean, if you got into the Judaism faith, I mean, if I work with someone in Hinduism or whatever it is, or myself, what's my religious construct or whatever that is. I would say I'm probably not so much religious construct, I'm more into the spiritual construct. But again, there are certain things which are ethical within that. And politics, well, again, that's just opinion. So you can always tamper that and temper it and work it out. So the division of household labor. Now, this one, I think, affects relationships, dating, and so forth. And I would tell you from personal experience, can be very annoying. So household labor is imbalances in domestic responsibility leading to resentment. This is, I think, again, about your communication and what you do to get the work-life balance. Now, if someone you are with and you are the breadwinner and that you're not at home so much, then the person who is at home should do them things. Or if they need to get a cleaner, maybe the person who's earning good money, they can get a cleaner. I mean, that would be one solution. But also the other issues is this is nobody should feel you're both sovereign people. You should always feel that you're admired, you're adored. Adornment, some people don't like, but it is true. You're respected, and I think that is the big one. Respect has to work both ways, and I think that imbalance in domestic responsibilities can be just things like the general things of keeping tidy. Not difficult, but you'd be surprised. But I think a lot of that should be dealt with before you get into a marriage. What is the agreement? What are you going to do? And especially when you have children, very important. So, solutions, discuss this, communicate it, work out the financial disagreements of maybe you have to get a cleaner, maybe you have to do them things, right? Simple to me, I think. Family interference, oh, yeah, another one. This can work very much with different cultural mixed marriages as well. Problems with in-laws, extended family or blended families. Now, blending families are really tough because that can also be someone who's been divorced and has got children from a previous marriage and so forth, and or that can get very complicated, very messy. However, sorry to scratch my eye with a split sleep in it. Anyway, problems with in-laws. Well, again, in-laws have their viewpoints, their generation have different ideas. Again, communicate it, make sure there's boundaries, make sure there's understanding. Extended family, again, same thing. What's the extended family? What they're telling is that could be also friends as well. You say friends, oh, they don't doing that, and my husband does that, or I don't do that, or my wife does that, or my partner does that. No, no, no. Everybody's relationship is different. So again, what people say out of the extended family or friends doesn't mean it works for you. So again, this is where you've got to always work on the sanctity of your own marriage. And that's why sometimes not with telling people your problems is always actually it's best to tell a therapist because a therapist doesn't have they don't have a dog in the fight, as an old saying goes. So that is a bit of a difference. And then extended family is just like, again. So the solution is communication yet again. Unresolved personal issues. Again, this is about communication problems. This is probably also about financial disagreements and it's about intimacy challenges. So this is individual mental health challenges, addiction, or unaddressed trauma. Again, everything I spoke about, the communication problems, financial disagreement, and trust is all linked to that. So mental health challenges happens. People lose their jobs and they don't know how to deal with that. Yeah, that all can happen. So we all have to work through that and get that right. So I would say this, and this is my opinion, but I think being a therapist and knowing that and also personal experience is this. When someone's got mental health challenges, sit down, discuss it, find out the solution. Very simple. If that means going to a CBT therapist like myself or a hypnotherapist or whatever that can help. Addiction, same thing. It's the cognitive behavior therapy. It's about why they do these things. Why is there addictions that? And actually, it's a bigger addiction, which I talked about in financial difficulties, because it's also about gambling. It's pornography. That happens in a lot of marriages. So one partner ends up into a lot of pornography, or they get addicted to chat rooms or many different forms. And it's very important to address that. And that unaddressed trauma can come from that as well, which can be upbringing, sexual abuse, marital abuse, previous marital abuse, loads of things. So again, it's always about the communication. And the last one is growing apart. This happens quite a lot, developing different interests. And sometimes when you get married, you feel that you want to do something different to what you were as a single person. And then that's changing as individuals without adapting together. And this does happen. And sometimes, there's people I've heard this, they say, oh, their first marriage was a trial marriage, or, they say these things and they joke about it because sometimes people get married young. They think it's the right move and so forth. And then they get older and they realize there's just nothing in common. So many people have that. Sometimes they get married, they have children, the children grow up, they go to university, and then they actually sit down and they go, God, we've got nothing in common anymore. Brought these kids up, the kids are great.